Please start recording. Lovely. And then before we begin, I would like to share a brief land acknowledgement. So as a settler on this land and on behalf of NEADS, I'd like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands we're calling in from today. Our so-called Canada is built upon the ancestral and unceded territory of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. These unceded and unsurrendered lands were often taken through violent, non-consensual means, and colonial violence persists in our society today. So we stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island as they fight for their rights, representation, and recognition. With many of us being settlers on this land, it's crucial that we recognize our positions within oppressive structures and our roles and responsibilities towards reconciliation. So land acknowledgements like this are only a really, really small part of the lifelong and constantly evolving journey we must all take as we strive to improve relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. November is Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, so I'd like to take a bit more time to reflect on the disproportionately high rates of disability in Indigenous communities and that relationship with colonial violence and different cultural understandings of what disability means. So to learn a bit more about the land you're on, a link to native-land.ca will be posted in the chat box below. Friendly reminder, it is just a start, but it is a place to start. And with that, I am so excited because we are joined today by Nunavummi Disabilities, Makinnasuaqtiit Society,
yes.
Did I? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
We practiced this beforehand, but we're here to celebrate Indigenous Disability Awareness Month at our latest Virtual Access for All webinar. Quick thing on Virtual Access for All project. It aims to support disabled students as they transition into post-secondary, including our State of the Schools reports, our NEADS Student Awards program and Accessibility Resilience program, as well as our cross-country hybrid State of the Schools tour, which kicks off in St. John's, Newfoundland, this month, November 23rd. Very busy time over here. So with that, today we are joined by Lisa Spencer, NDMS's Communications Manager. Lisa creates resource materials, engages with community partners, and advocates for equity in the North. She is a disabled advocate for both herself and her children. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Carly, and thank you for that beautiful land acknowledgement. Yes, so let's get started. I am here to present to you our presentation titled Inuit Quajimajatuqangit. This is an exploration of disability and education in the territory of Nunavut. You will see that on the left side is a logo of NDMS with 4 languages outlining our title. I, as previously mentioned, am the Communications Manager for Nunavummi Disabilities Makinnasuaqtiit Society and have been for the last 3 years. I go by any pronouns. I am a colonial settler. I do not identify as Indigenous or Inuit. I am neurodivergent and disabled. And as you have noticed, I do have motor and vocal tics, which will present during this time. On the left, you will see a picture of myself. I have reddish brown buzzed hair and I'm smiling for the camera. As my image description for this Zoom video, I still have my reddish brown buzzed hair. I also am wearing orange rimmed blue light glasses because I have sensory sensitivities. And I am wearing a checkered poncho. I have the Nunavut, or rather the Northern Lights behind me as well as a backdrop. Now, in the interest of inclusion, we do have a couple of things that we have made efforts to make this as inclusive and accommodating as possible. We have used contrasting colors for participants who are low vision. We use what is called dyslexia font. So this is a font that was specifically made to give each letter different weight and different appearance to assist with differentiating. In the absence of a dyslexia font, we would recommend something that is sans serif font, which basically means it doesn't have the fancy like feet or accents for the letter. This is confusing for anyone who experiences dyslexia. We also, although it doesn't necessarily apply to this particular presentation, we make it a habit to provide alternative text for and written image descriptions for our blind and low vision participants. And I will be providing image descriptions as auditory for the purpose of this presentation. Later on, we do have a video clip which is provided in INEQUITIES and has English captioning. However, for anyone who needs additional assistance, I will be providing a synopsis so that you can hear in English what is being said. On the bottom right portion of the slide, you will see an icon in light blue green gradient rather, and this is an Inuk with a service dog. So before we get started, we do cover some objectives. We want to identify and describe who we are and what we do as NDMS. We also want to briefly cover ableism and colonialism and how they are intertwined. And we also want to understand the societal barriers that Inuit with disabilities experience in Nunavut. To go over some definitions, we discuss ableism. And for the purpose of this presentation, we use the following definition. It is a system that places value on bodies and minds based on society's ideas of what it means to be normal, intelligent, and productive. We discuss intersectional identity, which is a concept to describe how more than one part of a person's identity can be intertwined in the experience of oppression. And Inuit Quajimajatuqangit, which is loosely translates to what Inuit have always known to be true. In short, we call it IQ values quite often. It is a worldview of how to be in the world, and it is shared across the circumpolar region. So who we are? Well, I am a colonial settler, as I mentioned. NDMS, however, is run by Inuit. It's Inuit-led. We are an Indigenous territory-wide not-for-profit organization based out of Iqaluit. We were developed out of grassroots community-based action in 1999 by Nunavut's Inuit organizations who sought to bring awareness and justice to people living with disabilities in the territory. And in 2005, we were incorporated as a society. We became the representative organization for people living with disabilities in Nunavut. So we cover all 25 communities, which are all fly-in communities. We are also partners of several national organizations, including Inclusion Canada, Ready, Willing, and Able, the Work Wellness Institute, and we also have various partnerships with Canadian universities, both federal and territorial departments, and other for-profit and community organizations. Our vision is for all people living with disabilities in Nunavut to achieve independence, self-determination, and full citizenship in their communities. And our mission is to support the full inclusion of Nunavummiut with disabilities and to work to improve their overall quality of life. We do this by encouraging persons with disabilities to become involved in a variety of different activities. We advocate for the rights and interests of people with disabilities. We promote employment opportunities, awareness, choice, and participation. And we have a responsibility to represent the needs of all people in Nunavut experiencing barriers. This includes working together with government departments to ensure client and community member needs are met in, but not a full list, but in transportation, housing, physical health, mental health, law and justice, economic development, family services, education, and community supports. We have a cute little Inuk icon in the corner here, little cartoon drawing of an Inuk with their hands out and their feet together. That same icon can be viewed at the bottom corner of this particular slide as well. So all of NDMS's advocacy work and projects are guided by 3 core principles. We look for individuality, self-determination, and community inclusion. So we believe that all people with disabilities have the right to be treated with respect and dignity, and that programs and supports should be designed to respect the dreams and goals of each individual. We also look for self-determination. So persons with disabilities have the right to be treated equally, to make choices, and to maintain personal control over all aspects of their lives. And community inclusion. So people with disabilities have the right to the supports necessary to take part in their choice of community activities and to participate in society without barriers. We do this by ensuring our programs are trauma-informed. So trauma-informed practice is a model that is built on knowledge about the impact of violence and trauma on people's life and health. It requires programs to integrate this knowledge into all aspects of practice and programming in ways that foster the safety, respect, and empowerment of individuals who have experienced violence. Our work is guided by knowledge about historical and intergenerational trauma experienced by Nunavummiut. Our programs are community-based, which aim to strengthen the capacity of individuals and organizations at the community level. Enhancing collaboration improves the system response to those who face barriers. And our programs are not only community-based, but also community-led. For culturally relevant programming, the cultural contexts of populations is an essential element in designing and delivering information and programs. Our programs are developed from a place of understanding Inuit ways of knowing, cultural knowledge, traditional practices, and an understanding of Inuit histories and traumas that continue to impact Nunavummiut today. We have a lovely photo of some of our participants and staff members at NDMS. In the background, you can see we have this banner on our wall that says, "We all do better all together." So we have a lot of programs that range from cultural activities to research. We have provided a brief overview, but if you would like additional information, there's contact information at the end of this presentation, and certainly you can reach out to NEADS as well. We offer workshops and training. We have several workshops available for employers or businesses that focus on topics such as duty to accommodate, effective customer service, how to draft inclusive hiring practices, and a business case for inclusive hiring. We are currently working on developing diversity training and the importance of language. Specifically recognizing the negative effects of ableism, misconceptions of hiring people with disabilities, and many other myths that might prevent equitable hiring. We offer employer engagement events, working lunches, and developed an online toolkit that can be accessed anywhere. We are certified to administer accessibility ratings for the built environment. Accessibility ratings measure the accessibility of buildings and sites, including public parks. It promotes increased access through the adoption of universal design principles. We also have a job coach program where we teach job coaches who are external to an organization or mentors who are already working within that organization to provide one-on-one support to employees who require additional support for the job. For example, if someone struggles getting to work on time, a job coach or mentor can be provided to help support this, or perhaps the individual needs additional training on the job to learn a specific task. The program can pay the coach or mentor directly or reimburse the organization. The program also provides accessible devices and equipment if required. For example, noise canceling headphones, tablet, large print items, alarm clock, taxi vouchers, and so on. There really is no restriction, but there is an approval process. We offer a pre-employment program to support individuals with disabilities interested in either returning to school or entering the labor market. Our program is flexible. However, it follows a 12-week rotating schedule. Through a comprehensive individual learning plan and other environmental assessments, we determine the interests of the individual and tailor the pre-employment program to the unique needs of each participant. We have provided training in topics related to the mining industry, the trades, culinary field, and we are currently expanding this to include additional modules such as janitorial or administrative roles. The program offers a small weekly allowance for the individual, wage subsidies for the employer, tuition reimbursement, childcare costs, work boots or work clothing, CPR first aid, and any other training required by an employer. Our program is currently being developed into an online learning management system that will be accessible across the entire territory. We also travel to several communities every year to offer the in-person training to those who might be interested. We also focus on our current research project. So NDMS is leading a qualitative study to better understand accessibility standards in Nunavut and how those standards interact with Inuit Quajimajatuqangit. The study will identify barriers to employment, built environments, information and communication technologies, design and delivering of programming, services, and transportation. This research project will establish baselines on disability and accessibility in Nunavut and set future research agendas for years to come. This project also includes an advisory committee with representatives from all 25 communities. Outside of these programs, and noted in the slides, we also offer accessible sports, cultural programs. We lead various research projects, coordinate and offer learning assessments, advocacy, and all levels, including policy and individual, and so much more. We have several YouTube videos as well that provide a more in-depth overview of disability in Nunavut. We have employer engagement information and even a video on the social model of disability. At the bottom there, because we are with NEADS and we are discussing education, a new initiative that we are taking on this year is psychoeducational assessments in the territory. So I've just included a montage of photos here. So I'll give you some image descriptions. We have a group of men in a kitchen on the far top right. We have a person playing soccer in top middle. We have a group of people sitting in an igloo for an on the land program. We have a group of people at the bottom left who are using kayaks and paddles on the beach. And finally, in the bottom right, we have a group of people holding a sign that reads "A Walk for Kenneth." So this was a fundraising initiative that we supported. So what is Inuit Quajimajatuqangit? It is that which are long known by Inuit. Now, I am not a fluent or even, I cannot speak Inuktitut, so I don't want to mispronounce, but I will say that we have respecting others, relationships, and caring for people. We have fostering good spirits by being open, welcoming, and inclusive. We have serving and providing for family and/or community. We have decision-making through discussion and consensus. We have development of skills through observation, mentoring, practice, and effort. Working together for a common cause, being innovative and resourceful, and finally, respect and care for the land, animals, and the environment. So these values listed here do not fully encapsulate the worldview as much as lost in translation. So Inuktitut languages are syllabic, not alphabetical, and this list has been translated for the benefit of colonial settlers, such as myself, for mutual understanding. So this list is how Inuit live a good life, and it focuses on 4 key factors. One is working for the common good rather than personal gain. Living in respectful relationships with everyone and everything, maintaining harmony and balance, and planning and preparing for the future. So what is our definition of disability? There is no Inuktitut word for disability because the word is rooted in colonialism. It is a concept that was introduced by settlers. The process for assessment, social services, and support, all of this is incongruent with Inuit culture. However, in terms of funding and supports, there is a necessity for labels and self-identification. So we do recognize that there's an increasing number of people with a disability in Nunavut. There is roughly 39,000 people in the territory, which would put us at about 5,570 people living with disabilities in Nunavut. The number is estimated to be higher than reported as well. 74% more Nunavummiut are claiming disability benefits since 1999. We do have an aging population. So as we know, everyone will have a disability at some point in their lifetime, and support needs grow as the population ages. Another aspect as to why the definition of disability can be difficult is because names are sacred in Inuit culture. The name chooses the child and has ancestral connections that help to describe a person's potential. So when we integrate a colonial label into a person's identity, it can bring about mixed emotions. There is an expanded definition of disability in Nunavut. It includes dependency on alcohol or drugs, as well as experiences of colonial trauma and societal barriers, which we will discuss shortly. NDMS supports all Nunavummiut who experience barriers to their participation in society. So we have 3 icons at the bottom here. We have all Inuks with shadows indicating a disability behind them in a purple-yellow gradient. From left to right, we have someone in a wheelchair, someone using a cane, and someone using sign language. So what are societal barriers? Barriers are obstacles that make participation in society inaccessible. We can look no further than the social determinants of health, because this shows how some people may experience barriers in their daily lives without even knowing it. In addition to the social determinants of health, there are attitudinal, physical, communication, and organizational barriers that we will discuss shortly. Lower income, employment instability, adverse childhood experiences, reduced opportunities for education and literacy, negative environmental factors, all limit access to health and wellness resources and supports, disconnect from the community, genetics, gender, culture, language, racism. It all contributes to unfair treatment and negative outcomes for people. This may be worsened by the limitations of support and services within the North. And to the right, you will see a chart of basically a cheat sheet of the topics I had just discussed. You can find that on our social media as well. So these factors are inequities that disrupt balance and harmony. So if you recall, looking back at Inuit Quajimajatuqangit, this is one of the factors that help Inuit live a good life. So when we consider that, things like climate change, it can affect the environment, which changes the Arctic landscape for safe navigation. It changes migration patterns, which can make hunting more difficult. And it means an increase in harmful bacteria found in country food and water sources. This can lead to negative health outcomes and disabilities. Inuit now live in communities that rely on colonial practices and policies. There are 25 communities that are fly-in only, which can make access to education, employment, and health services extremely difficult. Many Inuit have to travel out of territory to get westernized medical care in our southern provinces, and some may need to move away permanently from culture, family, and tradition. Education in Nunavut still uses a colonial curriculum. Inuit language and culture is celebrated during specific times and special events, but is not part of the core teachings. Nunavut Arctic College has a variety of post-secondary programs and partners with various southern universities to offer degree courses. Programs are not offered on a regular basis or are offered in every community. So there is difficulty in registering based on your location in the territory. There's also a low number of Inuit teachers at all levels of education. And many health, education, and social support services employ settlers who move up north for higher income opportunities. There's a high turnover rate as well. This becomes a barrier to cultural safety and effective communication. At NDMS, we work collaboratively with our community members and Inuit advisory groups so that we practice INEQUITIES, which is one of the IQ values, meaning decision-making through discussion and consensus. Also, it is important to acknowledge Canada's history of abuse, which Carly talked about in the lovely land acknowledgement. Also neglect and cultural genocide within residential schools. So across the country, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit were physically, sexually, and emotionally abused by staff. Indigenous language and cultural practices were forbidden and punished. This has led to intergenerational trauma and loss of identity and kinship bonds. Suicidality is higher in Nunavut than anywhere else in Canada, and Inuit with disabilities experience discrimination on 2 levels. So you might experience ableism from non-Indigenous and Indigenous people. You might experience racism from non-disabled and disabled people alike. We have a wonderful clip here from a documentary that is significantly longer and more in-depth. It is available on our YouTube channel. It is called "What Does Disability Mean in Nunavut?" This has closed captioning as the participants are speaking in Inuktitut. However, after the video, I will give you a brief description for anybody who is visually impaired and cannot determine what is being said. I apologize, there is an issue with the sound. I will say that this is Litia, and she explains that people with disabilities were not forgotten in the past. They were never alone and helped by their families. People with disabilities were taught to be capable and to care for others. And when children attended schools, they started to learn differently, and it ended up changing family dynamics. Here we have Noah. Noah remembers when families helped each other. There was cooperation and people learned from one another. The elders knew what needed to be done. They understood disability and capability and how much assistance people needed. My apologies. So, yes, when colonial settlers have come in and enforced and imposed colonial practices and policies, it had changed the cultural landscape of the Arctic and Nunavut specifically. Those are barriers in and of themselves, but we do have additional barriers that I think anyone who is disabled in or experiences a disability in Canada can certainly relate to. So here we are discussing attitudinal barriers, and just a side note that this can be compounded by intersectional identities, such as anyone who is Inuit and disabled or with a disability. So attitudinal barriers include low expectations. So when the public undervalues the skills and knowledge of disabled persons. We have assumptions when the public makes decisions about what disabled people want and or need. Ignorance, when the public has no training or knowledge about the experience of persons with disabilities. And disrespect, so when we do not seem to care for people with disabilities. So these barriers prevent the public from carrying out IQ values, the Inuit Quajimajatuqangit. And in this case, we're looking at development of skills through observation, mentoring, practice, and effort. We're looking at decision-making through discussion and consensus, fostering good spirits by being open, welcoming, and inclusive, and respecting each other and caring for people. Now we have the physical barriers, which once again can be compounded by intersectional identities of being Inuit and disabled. These physical barriers include structural obstacles. So when obstacles prevent mobility for disabled persons due to lack of ramps, sidewalks, or in our territory, lack of snow clearing. We have sensory overload, so when the environment is too stimulating from loud noises, crowded spaces, bright lights, and more. We also have isolation, when disabled persons are isolated without the means to travel or care for the land and animals. So when your cultural identity and your spirit and everything that you be, know, and do is closely related and tied to the land, if you cannot access the land, that in itself is disabling. And no assistive devices, when disabled persons go without equipment needed for participation. Now, this can go against fostering good spirits by being open, welcoming, and inclusive, respecting others and caring for people, respect and care for the land, animals, and the environment, and being innovative and resourceful. Communication barriers. Once again, these barriers can be compounded by intersectional identities of Inuit and disabled. So we're looking at things like confusing language, when information is too complicated or too lengthy to understand, which can be difficult when we have colonial practices and policies written in familiar language that is culturally irrelevant to Inuit. A lack of communication, when the public does not accept or does not know alternative methods of communication, such as Inuit Sign Language. Limited access to information, when the public fails to provide information in different formats so that everyone can be informed. And denied consent. So when disabled people are denied the opportunity to provide their own consent rather than guardianship or helpers. Communication barriers prevent the public from carrying out IQ values, fostering good spirits, being open, welcoming, and inclusive, respecting others and caring for people, being innovative and resourceful, and decision-making through consensus. Organizational barriers. Once again, these barriers can be compounded by intersectional identities of Inuit and disability. Here we're looking at a lack of policies. So when organizations do not include diversity and inclusion in policies or procedures, when there's unclear expectations, where responsibilities, rules, and manners are implied without direct instruction. A lack of representation, when disability decisions are made without the voices of persons with disabilities, especially in paid or highly respected positions, decision-making positions. Once again, if you have somebody who is disabled in those positions, that doesn't necessarily fully encapsulate the experience of Inuit. And if you have someone who is Inuit, that doesn't fully encapsulate the experiences of someone who is disabled. Restricted supports. So when supports for persons with disabilities is missing or rarely available or by appointment or in person only. These barriers prevent us from carrying out the IQ values of fostering good spirits, development of skills through observation, mentoring, practice, and effort, serving and providing for family and community, decision-making through consensus, and finally, respecting others' relationships and caring for people. Here we have a little bit of a diagram depicting the social model of disability. So we have an Inuk in a wheelchair in the middle, in like a purplish color, approaching a set of stairs. In blue, we have people representing the medical model of disability at the top of the stairs. The medical model of disability assumes the problem to be residing within the person. Okay, social model of disability is represented here by icons in orange. And the social model of disability perceives the problem with disability to be located within society, the lack of accommodations, the barriers experienced as we had previously discussed, as being the most disabling factors. So when we're comparing the different perspectives, here we have the people in blue looking at the Inuk with through the medical model of disability lens. And they are saying, you can climb the stairs, just try harder. You don't want to be confined to the wheelchair your whole life, do you? And alternatively, the people in orange behind the Inuk are looking at it through the lens of the social model of disability, saying there should be a ramp here for everyone to use. That is accommodation. We don't want to exclude people just for being different. We want an inclusive society. NDMS operates under the social model of disability. Now, here is another picture that we have here through our organization, and you might be familiar with various forms of this illustration. What we have here is 4 panels depicting equality, equity, reality, and liberation. So equality is where everyone gets the same opportunities and resources regardless of their personal needs. Equality is where everyone is standing on the same level ice block to look over the ice wall at a skidoo race. Under equity, we have everyone gets the necessary support to help them access the same opportunities, different needs for different people. So the same people are looking over the ice wall at the skidoo race with various levels of ice to support them to see over the wall. Reality is that there is help and support, but it doesn't benefit the intended group. It reduces the opportunities because of societal barriers. So those who cannot see over the wall have little to no access, and those who could see over the wall without the help actually are elevated quite high so they can see more than needed for the skidoo race. And then we have liberation. Ideally, societal barriers would not exist because everyone's needs are anticipated before the support is necessary. That is the ideal future. So how can we as NDMS get back to our cultural competencies, cultural safety, trauma-informed practice? What we look for is education through mentorship as an interdependency. We do mention the idea of independence in terms of a individual person's right to provide consent or to make decisions. But ultimately, we are all connected. We are all interdependent in one way or another, regardless of whether we are disabled or non-disabled. So from an Inuit Quajimajatuqangit lens, a relationship must be reciprocal. Okay, so reciprocity is cultural competency. We want to make sure that everyone benefits in some way from the interaction, and that it's an equal partnership. So we're very cognizant of any imbalance of power. Okay, we look to learn from Nunavummiut just as much as we are there to teach, guide, and provide. We also focus on developing competencies through practice, effort, and action. So we do look at advocacy, we look at research, we look at policy development, we look at programming, cultural programming as well, not just job readiness and education. So we're approaching through multiple avenues. We emphasize the fostering of good spirits by being open, welcoming, and inclusive. As we mentioned, we do provide for anyone who identifies as experiencing a barrier to their participation in society. We expect both mentor and mentee to make decisions through discussion and consensus. There is no unilateral decision, right? It has to be a collaborative process, mutual understanding, especially when it comes to communication barriers. As there is a variety of different languages spoken in Nunavut, including NEADS, Inuit, French, and English. And we naturally rely on both parties to be resourceful and innovative. Sometimes when we discuss the needs and support for the people we serve, the people we work with, quite often they'll think of something that we haven't, right? And we might know some additional funding, programming, or assistive devices that they are unaware of. It's a mutual, reciprocal relationship, and it certainly helps ensure that everyone's needs are met in an equitable and respectful way. So that pretty much covers the presentation. We do have our contact information here, and you can find us on social media platforms. Our handle is @NewAbility, or you can certainly search NDMS, as Nunavummi Disabilities Makinnasuaqtiit Society might be a little difficult to find. Thank you, Quana Nakuramik, and does anyone have any questions?
Awesome. And just for a bit of structure, we will be starting the. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was incredible. I learned so much personally. We will open up to the Q&A. Generally, either use the raise hand function via Zoom or just unmute yourself and go for it if you can't find the button. All right, I will leave you with that. And go for it.
That was just lovely. Absolutely lovely, Lisa. I was
Thank
so
you.
impressed. I learned actually some things that I didn't know, and I have a degree in history.
You won't tell anybody.
At my BA level. No, this was just absolutely enjoyable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne. And then Allison?
Thank you. It's Allison. I'm from the Musqueam lands, colonially known as Vancouver, specifically the Dunbar area near UBC. I say specifically Musqueam because this is where the Musqueam people are, but they also share territories with the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I was wondering if you were going to the Indigenous Disability and Wellness Gathering in Victoria next week, and if you were presenting stuff like this to them.
Yeah, I am actually going to be in Victoria next week. I am part of a panel discussion for a fireside chat through the Canadian Centre for Caregiver Excellence, which I believe is the evening of day 1.
I will be there.
I look forward to meeting you, Allison.
Awesome. And just while we have you on Zoom, if you'd love to talk a bit more about that event, I'm sure everyone here would love to hear more about it, follow up on it.
Well, it's absolutely, it's put on through CCCE and BCAN's letting out a bunch of ticks now that the presentation is over. It is happening all next week from Tuesday to Thursday in Victoria, and it's in recognition of the Indigenous Disability Awareness Month. There's a number of Indigenous and disabled panel discussions. Again, I am a colonial settler, but I am so grateful to be presenting with a number of Indigenous panel speakers. I look forward to the event. Yeah, absolutely, check it out. I know that they're sold out in terms of participation, but any kind of resource material that will be shared through, I believe it's Indigenous Disability Gathering is the URL.
Yes, I have dropped the link in the chat for anyone wanting to check that out.
Certainly, I'm only a participant. I wasn't one of the organizers, so I don't want to do a disservice. By all means, check out the link provided by Carly. Thank you so much.
All right, I will remind everyone, if you want to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand. And I'm just going to make this awkward little face in the camera until someone does.
If you think of anything after the presentation, by all means, reach out to either NDMS or NEADS. They can contact me most definitely, so I can answer any questions. And once again, you know, our encapsulation of our programs and services is a little bit of a rushed list. So if there's any kind of interest or inquiries, by all means, let me know after the presentation. And Priyanka, thank you so much.
I will, if no one's going to ask, I will go for it. I've heard from a lot of people up north that if they want to pursue post-secondary institution, especially in more like settler colonial models, they do have to leave their
Yes.
traditional territories for that. Is there any programming or any kind of like cultural shift to kind of maintain those connections as they move away?
At the moment, no. There is, as I mentioned, the Nunavut Arctic College is in partnership with some degrees so that they can offer things like social supports, like social work and nursing, the kind of professions that are in dire need up north. But for the most part, yes, you need to travel to the south, especially for medical care as well, because many communities do not have permanent doctors. They're on rotation or traveling. And again, as I had mentioned, the high turnover rate for a lot of services and support facilitators or providers. So it makes it difficult to develop a trusting relationship. It makes it difficult to establish mutual understanding and to have consistency for learning. And it's even harder when you're faced with a lack of assistive devices or accommodations. When they come down to the south, there is very little. I mean, there are organizations in every province that look to support urban Inuit or urban Indigenous people in general, friendship centers especially, but there is still reports of experiencing ableism, experiencing racism, experiencing colonialism, whether it is direct or indirect, whether it is intentional or non-intentional. The southern provinces tends to have their own idea, this colonial idea of normalcy, which we included in our definition of ableism. So what we consider to be normal as a society is what is traditionally known as white, middle class, preferably male, heterosexual, right? All of these factors that lead to things like ageism, sexism, racism, heterosexism, colonialism, elitism, every ism, right? So normalcy is what really drives policies and programming because it's quantifiable, it's tangible. But when we look at what it means to embody Inuit Quajimajatuqangit, it's really about the relationships. It's about what purpose, balance, harmony. It doesn't quite measure up. It's not the same.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Lisa. And I
Yeah.
noticed Krista has her hand raised.
I did, and I feel like you set me up beautifully for a question there, Carly, in asking about accessibility and ability to stay in community for education. So I have the privilege of working with Carly and the NEADS team. I lead a project called Wave Makers, which was actually intentionally designed at its core to meet the needs of individuals, particularly Indigenous individuals living in remote communities, and enabling them to access really high quality work integrated learning experiences from wherever they may be. And we're an example of what happens when you get to reinvent things and actually recreate and design with inclusion and belonging at the core. And so we're thrilled to be able to work with NEADS. The point of my statement here is not to promote wave makers, but though I'm happy to, I will say when we started reaching out to communities, we were told when we reached out in Nunavut that it would not work for students there because of bandwidth requirements.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And I'm watching you speak, and you've got beautiful connectivity, and my heart was soaring in the hopes that that might mean that we might be able to at some point get students from Nunavut in. So I guess my question is, have things improved, and do we have any hope of actually bringing students there in? Because we do have, I think, a fairly high value solution that doesn't require people to leave the community and where belonging is core.
Technology is definitely a barrier, especially when it comes to communication. I will admit I'm coming from out of territory at the moment, so my connectivity is not properly representative of what the experience what the experience is in Nunavut. We do have inequitable access to communication and technology. We have a number of people who do not have computers or who do not have internet. Internet is extremely expensive, and therefore, there are many who are not privileged or capable or have access to internet in general. It is difficult for us as an organization to reach out to these communities quite regularly, and we often have to again, kind of like a four-pronged approach or a three-pronged approach, in that not only do we do in-person meetings, we try to travel as much as possible. We do offer online opportunities as well, and we have partnered with different organizations or community organizations that can help kind of facilitate our programming, like a train the trainer kind of model. Or we partner with them directly so that we can provide funding or resources. There is also a barrier of a lack of infrastructure for many of these communities to have in-person learning opportunities as well. So even though there is the Arctic College that is partnering with universities, not every community is going to have access to it, unfortunately. And either they're traveling to provinces or they're traveling to other communities, which can affect where your kinship bonds are, where your family, where your specific language, because there is NEADS and Inuit. So in some cases, you might be traveling to an area that uses a different language. There's a variety of barriers to overcome. And unfortunately, there, in terms of funding, policies and procedures, when we're looking at people traveling to the south, that tends to be the answer, is to access, you just want this kind of support, why don't you just move, is kind of the idea, which again leads to the hesitancy to even adopt the label of disability. When you're looking at medical services, if you identify as having a disability, you run the risk of having to leave your home, having to leave your land, your culture. So in that case, there are a number of people that we could serve and who could benefit from our support, but who are reluctant to receive it.
Thank you for such a thoughtful answer.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Lisa. And with that, I will start the whole closing remarks blurb, but thank you so much, Lisa. We are so lucky to have had this opportunity to host you, especially for Indigenous Disability Awareness Month. Please don't leave yet. Announcement time. Right, I gotta catch them. Okay, so our first stops on the NEADS State of the Schools tour are this month. What? So we will be in St. John's, Newfoundland, November 23rd, and Halifax, Nova Scotia on the 25th. More info is coming out about that pretty much as we speak. But I did drop the link to the St. John's media release in the chat. It's super exciting. It will be hybrid. It will be hybrid for accessibility and to prove a point. Anyways, so that's this month. As you can tell, I'm super excited about it. So we are also still accepting applicants to the Accessibility Resilience Program. Link to that is also in the chat. And I'm our communications director. Please follow our social media. Sign up to our newsletter, whatever you want to call it. That's all I got for this one, but thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you to NDMS. This was really great. With that, we will stop the recording and feel free to talk more casually amongst yourselves. Will it?
I'm trying to see where I can stop the recording.
You got it, Frank.
Oh, there it is.
Incredible. Okay.